Getting older is one of the most natural parts of life, but it comes with subtle shifts that catch almost all of us off guard. As the years pile up, your routine changes, your body changes, and the world around you speeds up in ways that can feel overwhelming. Without even noticing, you start picking up small daily habits just to cope with those changes. You might fall into certain ways of talking, reacting, or carrying yourself simply because they feel comfortable or familiar. But here is the hard truth. Those tiny, unconscious habits can slowly start to push away the very people you care about most: your adult children, your old friends, your grandkids, and your neighbors. The most painful part is that nobody usually tells you when it's happening. Your loved ones won't pull you aside to explain why they are calling a little less often, staying for shorter visits, or leaving your messages on read. They stay silent because it feels awkward, uncomfortable, or disrespectful to point out a flaw to someone older and wiser. So instead of speaking up, they just quietly retreat, leaving you wondering why your social circle feels smaller and why the room gets quiet when you walk in. You end up feeling lonely, and they end up feeling drained, all because of invisible walls built by habits you didn't even realize you were building. That is exactly why we need to talk about this directly, without sugarcoating it or beating around the bush. You deserve to know what might be creating that distance so you can protect your relationships before they fade away. The good news is that these habits aren't permanent parts of who you are. They are just patterns, and patterns can be broken. In this guide, we are going to look at 13 quiet, everyday habits that ruin relationships as you age, why they drive people away, and the exact steps you can take today to fix them and bring your loved ones back into your life. 1. Constant complaining. Let's be completely real. Getting older is tough. Your knees ache when the weather changes. Grocery prices keep skyrocketing. Technology evolves faster than you can keep up with, and the world often feels like it's spinning out of control. It is entirely valid to feel frustrated by all of that. But when every single phone call, family dinner, or casual catch-up becomes a long list of grievances, people naturally start to pull away. When negativity becomes your default setting, every conversation turns into a heavy ordeal for the person on the other end. Think about how it feels to interact with someone who only sees the bad in everything. If every time you answer the phone, you know you are about to hear 20 minutes of nonstop complaining about the noisy neighbors, the terrible weather, the local government, and how much better things used to be, you naturally start dreading those calls. You might love that person deeply, but eventually you stop picking up because you simply do not have the emotional energy to absorb that level of heavy, draining spirit day after day. Venting every now and then is a healthy human way to let off steam, but when complaining becomes your entire personality, it sucks the air right out of the room, leaving everyone around you exhausted. 2. Turning every chat into a health update. There is no denying that health issues become a major part of daily life as the years go on. Arthritis flares up, high blood pressure needs tracking, back pain creeps in, and doctor appointments start filling up your calendar. It is completely normal for your body to be on your mind, and it is perfectly fine to share how you are feeling with the people who care about you. But when every single visit or quick phone call gets hijacked by a detailed play-by-play breakdown of your latest symptoms, tests, and prescription changes, your relationships start to feel more like a clinical appointment than a warm, personal connection. Your family and friends love you, and they genuinely want you to be healthy and well. But they don't just want to manage your health, they want to spend time with you. They want to know what you think about the latest news, what books you are enjoying, what made you laugh this week, and what memories you hold dear. When you turn every interaction into a medical update, you accidentally strip away your own personality and reduce yourself to a list of ailments. Think of the grandmother who couldn't understand why her young granddaughter stopped visiting as often, only to realize that every visit had turned into a lecture on her daily pill routine and joint aches. The granddaughter loved her, but she missed her fun, vibrant grandma. 3. Being too opinionated. Living through decades of life gives you a massive reservoir of wisdom, experience, and perspective. You have survived heartbreaks, financial stress, career changes, and world events, which means your opinions are backed by real-world mileage. However, there is a massive difference between sharing wisdom when asked and turning every casual chat into a rigid debate you feel you must win. When you treat your perspective as the absolute authority and shut down anyone else's point of view, you make conversations feel exhausting rather than enriching. When every topic turns into a lecture on how things ought to be done, people quickly realize that talking to you feels less like a warm conversation and more like standing in front of a judge. This issue becomes especially dangerous when it creeps into your family's personal choices, such as parenting, career paths, or finances. Adult children, in particular, are deeply sensitive to feeling managed or judged by their parents. You might genuinely believe you are just giving advice or trying to save them from making a mistake, but to them, it lands as harsh criticism and a lack of respect for their independence. Consider the father who lost his regular weekly visits with his adult daughter simply because he couldn't stop critiquing her parenting decisions every time she dropped off his grandchildren. He thought he was offering priceless guidance. She felt constantly judged as an incompetent mother. Eventually, to protect her own peace of mind, she stopped bringing the kids around as often, leaving him isolated and bewildered. 4. Neglecting personal hygiene. This is easily one of the most sensitive subjects on the entire list, but it is one that needs to be addressed with total honesty. As you age, your daily energy levels naturally drop. Physical mobility can become painful, and simple tasks like stepping into a bathtub or bending over to scrub yourself can feel like mounting a mountain. When you live alone or don't leave the house often, it is incredibly easy to let daily routines slide. You might think, I'm not going anywhere today, so why bother taking a shower or changing out of these clothes? But over time, skipping these basic steps becomes a habit, and a quiet neglect sets in that affects not just your body, but your living environment as well. The harsh reality is that people notice personal hygiene long before they hear what you have to say. When a home carries the heavy smell of unwashed laundry, stale food, or uncleaned carpets, or when a person smells like unwashed skin and hair, it creates an immediate physical barrier. Your family members, adult children, and old friends love you deeply, but strong odors make staying in your personal space uncomfortable and overwhelming. Because pointing out someone's body odor or dirty clothing is so deeply awkward, very few people will ever have the courage to bring it up directly. Instead of telling you the truth, they simply shorten their visits, make up excuses for why they can't come over, or stop dropping by altogether. 5. Living purely in the past. Looking back on old memories is one of the true joys of growing older. Reminiscing about how you met your first love, the crazy adventures of your youth, or how life used to be decades ago, can be deeply comforting and wonderfully entertaining. But there is a massive line between visiting the past and moving into it permanently. When every single conversation you have becomes a nostalgia loop that always circles back to the good old days, you accidentally send a message to everyone around you that the present moment and the people in it just aren't that interesting to you. It leaves absolutely no breathing room for what is happening right now in the real world. Think about how this feels for your family and younger friends. Your adult children want to tell you about the big project they just tackled at work, their new promotions, or their current stress. Your grandkids want to show you the online games they play, the music they are listening to, or the new sports move they learned. But when you immediately interrupt or derail their excitement with statements like, well, back in my day, we didn't have all that nonsense, or launch into a 30-minute monologue about how things were so much better 50 years ago, you shut them down. They leave the conversation feeling like you don't actually care about their lives, their world, or who they are today. Over time, they stop sharing things with you because they know you will just retreat back into your own memory lane. 6. Criticizing the younger generation. It is one of the oldest traditions in human history to look at the younger generation and shake your head in complete confusion. Kids these days have no respect. Nobody wants to work hard anymore. Or, they are always glued to those screens. These are phrases that every single generation has repeated about the one coming up behind them. Your parents likely thought your music was way too loud, your clothes were ridiculous, and your morals were suspect. It is a natural part of the aging process to feel disconnected from modern culture. But when that natural disconnect turns into constant, vocal criticism of young people, you build a massive emotional wall between yourself and the youth in your family. When all your kids, grandkids, or younger relatives hear from you is criticism about their clothing style, their technology habits, the way they talk, or their lifestyle choices, they quickly stop listening altogether. Nobody likes to hang around someone who constantly makes them feel judged, dismissed, or looked down upon. If every time your grandson visits, you lecture him about getting off his phone or criticize his haircut, he is going to stop visiting. You might think you are pointing out important values or giving tough love, but to a young person, it just feels like bitter, old-fashioned hostility. It burns down the very bridges of trust that you need to maintain a loving, lifelong connection with them. 7. Gossiping and meddling. When your daily routine slows down and your social circle grows smaller, it can be extremely tempting to get overly wrapped up in the personal lives of others. Spreading the latest news in retirement circles, talking about who is doing what in the neighborhood, or quietly prying into your adult children's private affairs can feel like harmless entertainment or a way to stay connected. But there is a huge difference between staying informed and meddling in business that isn't yours. Gossiping erodes trust at a lightning pace, and meddling in the personal decisions of your loved ones creates deep, lasting rifts that can take years to repair. This becomes especially destructive when it comes to your adult children's marriages, finances, or personal choices. You might jump in with unasked for opinions on how they manage their household, how they spend their money, or how they handle their spouse, convincing yourself that you are just trying to help or looking out for them. But meddling is an overstepping of boundaries, plain and simple. Consider the mother who constantly inserted her opinion into her son's marriage choices, offering unsolicited advice on how his wife should cook or run the house. She thought she was offering maternal love. Her son and daughter-in-law experienced it as toxic interference, eventually causing a painful emotional distance that lasted for years. 8. Refusing to adapt to technology. Technology moves fast, and it is completely understandable to feel overwhelmed by smartphones, online banking, social media, and endless app updates. It can feel like the modern world left its user manual behind. But digging in your heels and proudly declaring, "I don't do technology," doesn't just keep you offline, it quietly cuts you off from the daily flow of your family's life. Today's world operates digitally. Family group chats, quick photos of your grandkids' school events, video calls, and instant event invites happen on phones. When you completely refuse to engage with basic digital tools, you force everyone else to jump through extra hoops just to include you. Eventually, people stop loop checking, not out of malice, but because keeping you in the loop becomes work. Refusing to learn basic tech also deprives your own brain of incredible mental exercise and closes the door on wonderful ways to bond. Imagine being able to instantly see a video of your granddaughter's dance recital, play an online chess match with a nephew across the country, or drop a quick heart emoji on a photo your son posted. One woman in her 80s finally decided to take a basic smartphone class at her local community center, and within weeks, she was playing virtual board games with her family across 3 different time zones. She said it made her feel vibrant and connected again. The world isn't going to slow down, but you are entirely capable of taking simple steps to walk alongside it. 9. Playing the victim. Loneliness is real, heavy, and deeply painful, especially as your social circle naturally changes over time. But trying to guilt trip your loved ones into spending time with you by playing the victim is one of the fastest ways to push them further away. Dropping heavy, passive-aggressive comments like, "Well, I guess you forgot I existed. Nobody ever calls me anymore," or "I'm just waiting here all alone," might seem like an effective way to get attention, but it backfires completely. Guilt is an ugly motivator. When people visit or call you out of obligation and guilt rather than genuine desire, the interaction feels tense, awkward, and exhausting for everyone involved. When you frame yourself as a helpless victim of other people's busy lives, you hand away all your power and trap yourself in your own isolation. Sitting by the phone, waiting for the rest of the world to stop what it's doing to fix your loneliness, guarantees you will stay lonely. People have busy jobs, kids, and personal struggles, and when coming to see you feels like taking an emotional beating for not visiting sooner, they will naturally avoid coming at all. A relationship built on guilt creates resentment, while a relationship built on warmth creates joy. 10. Attaching strings to financial help. Money can be a wonderfully helpful tool for supporting the people you love, whether that means helping your adult children buy a house, contributing to a grandchild's college fund, or picking up the check at dinner. But using financial generosity as leverage to control people's choices or gain emotional compliance creates instant, burning resentment. Statements like, "After everything I've paid for, this is how you treat me," or subtly reminding your adult children of past financial gifts during an argument turns love into a transactional business deal. It signals that your generosity wasn't a gift of love at all. It was a contract for control. No adult child wants to feel like their independence has been bought, or that their parent is keeping an ongoing scoreboard of debts owed. When financial help comes with emotional strings attached, it makes the receiver feel manipulated and small. Consider the father who lost the respect of his grown sons because he constantly brought up the down payment he helped them make years ago whenever they disagreed with him. In the end, his sons stopped reaching out, not because they didn't appreciate the money, but because the cost of that money was their own dignity, self-respect, and freedom. 11. Refusing everyday help. Pride is a powerful force, and after living decades as an independent adult who took care of everyone else, it is incredibly difficult to admit that you might need a little hand now and then. But digging in your heels and stubbornly refusing small, everyday offers of help doesn't make you look strong, it makes you look rigid and creates an uncomfortable distance between you and the people who care about you. When your daughter offers to carry a heavy bag of groceries, your neighbor offers to shovel your walkway, or your grandson wants to drive you to an appointment, repeatedly barking, "I can do it myself," shuts down a natural human exchange of care. Allowing people to help you is not a sign of weakness. It is a vital form of emotional connection. When the people in your life love you, they naturally want to express that love by being useful to you. Serving you gives them a way to show gratitude for everything you have done for them over the years. When you constantly push their helpful hands away, you deny them the joy of caring for you, making them feel unneeded, dismissed, and useless in your life. Over time, they will stop offering altogether because they are tired of being rejected. 12. Losing your sense of humor. Life undeniably grows heavier as the years add up. Grief, health challenges, losing old friends, and physical aches can easily cloud your outlook if you let them. But when you let the heavy parts of life completely extinguish your ability to laugh, you make your personal environment heavy and unwelcoming for everyone around you. Nobody wants to walk on eggshells around a person who takes everything with dead seriousness, reacts with bitterness to small, light-hearted moments, or forgets how to smile at the absurdities of growing old. A vibrant sense of humor is one of the most magnetic qualities a person can possess at any age. Laughter doesn't erase your physical pain or make your real-world problems magically vanish, but it lightens the emotional load for both you and the people in your room. Consider the elderly woman who loved to joke, "My body might be falling apart, but my spirit is still spicy." People naturally gravitated toward her, not because her life was flawless or easy, but because her willingness to laugh made everyone feel alive, relaxed, and happy in her presence. Humor signals to the world that your heart is still young, resilient, and open. 13. Giving unsolicited advice. This is perhaps the trickiest habit of all, because it almost always springs from a place of deep love and genuine concern. You have lived through so much, solved so many problems, and gained immense life experience. So when your adult children or friends talk to you about their struggles, your immediate instinct is to jump in and fix it for them. You want to hand them the solution, tell them how to handle their boss, critique their budget, or fix their relationship issues. But constantly doling out advice when nobody asked for it feels like condescension and judgment in disguise. Most of the time, when people share a struggle with you, they aren't looking for a teacher, a manager, or a repairman. They are simply looking for a safe, loving place to be heard. When you immediately launch into a lecture on what they should be doing, you inadvertently signal that you don't trust their intelligence or capability as an adult. They leave the interaction feeling micromanaged and criticized, which teaches them to stop opening up to you about their lives altogether. One simple sentence of emotional support will build vastly more trust than a 10-point list of solutions ever could.